One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Surprise! It is a brand new bonus episode. So we haven't been doing a ton of bonus episodes on the Profit Podcast simply because we already put out 2 episodes a week, right? Like that's already a lot. But I wanted to share with you something really fun. Really, really fun. And I told myself that I was going to do this from the start of the year, but y'all, 2021 how are we already in March? What? Oh my gosh. So I wanted to start this from the beginning of the year. Didn't happen, but you know what? We're here now, right? We're not going to look at the things that we haven't accomplished. We are going to talk about and focus on the things that are happening right now. In today's bonus episode, I'm going to do a little bit more of a deep dive into the Buzzsprout global stats feature. We are going to go into detail on what's going on in podcasting for February 2021. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been trying to figure out the world of podcasting, think of this show as the time-saving shortcut you've been looking for. So let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, so if you are brand new to what the Buzzsprout stats feature is that I'm talking about, or Buzzsprout in general, let me break that down real fast. So Buzzsprout is my hosting provider. Yes, it's where I host my podcast. And if you are looking for a podcast host, whether you are with a different company right now or you're just getting started, I always recommend Buzzsprout. You can actually go try them out for free for 90 days by going to krystalprofit.com/Buzzsprout. I've used them since day one. I've literally, they have such great, I sing their praises all the time. Their customer service is phenomenal. They just really care about podcasters, and they're not just looking to make a quick buck. They are in this for the long haul, and they just support independent content creators. And I just will sing their praises till the cows come home. But one really cool feature that they started using back in, let me see, you're going to hear a lot of clicking in the background today because I'm clicking around on their different stats that they have. But they started a really cool feature, and I'm going to tell you where to find it. So it's buzzsprout.com/global_stats. So that's where you're going to find everything that I'm talking about. And you can go back if you're super nerdy like me and you want to see how all the numbers kind of have changed over time with podcasting. You can go back to October 2020 and see month to month how all of the Buzzsprout stats have changed. I just get so giddy about this, y'all. And this is why I was really upset with myself, because I said, starting in January, I'm going to share all the monthly updates as they come out. It didn't happen, but here we are. Okay. We're doing February's. We missed January's. That's okay. That's okay. Look here, we're here today. We're here and now. We're living in the present. And I just think it's really cool. So before I dive into the numbers, I just wanted to share with you these stats that I'm sharing are comprised of all Buzzsprout users. So the reason why I like to share these, when somebody asks me, well, how many downloads is a good number? How many downloads should I be getting a week? How many downloads should I be getting? It's too hard to quantify an exact number because everybody's shows are different. Maybe I post twice a week on this podcast regularly, right? That's a regular schedule, is on every Tuesday, every Thursday, we put out a new episode. It's anywhere from 25 minutes to 45 minutes or an hour and a half. It really just depends. It's kind of all over the place, to be honest, but that may not translate to my daily podcast, which is 5 minutes or less, Monday through Friday. So when someone asks me, how many podcasts is good? I point them here. I love having this resource because actually I'm looking at the numbers for February 2021. Again, you can go to buzzsprout.com/global_stats to find everything that I'm talking about. But what you'll see is there are more than 94,884 active podcasts on the platform. And I've talked to Albin over at Buzzsprout. He's their head of marketing, and Travis is their head of content. And Kevin, he's one of the co-founders. We've had many conversations about how they've used these numbers. And if you want to go learn more about the really, really granular details about why they came up with this and why they share certain numbers, go check out Buzzcast. That's their weekly podcast where they talk about this stuff. But it's important to know that there's more than 94,000 active podcasts within Buzzsprout. Now, why is this important? This is important because the information that you are reading, the stats that are on this page, aren't just from 5 podcasters who are in totally different niches and industries. It's 94,000. It's way more than if you ask me, hey, how many is the average number of downloads? I wouldn't know. From collectively, me and 10 of my podcast friends, it's not enough information. But 94,000, that is that's a lot of podcasts. Okay, so I love that these stats are here for us to learn from and to see how podcast is changing as a whole, as an industry, what is actually happening. So first and foremost, I do want to go back. This is one of my favorite things to do. So I go back. I'm going to go back to October because that's the first time that these stats were available. So in February, we're at 94,000. In October, we were at 82,574 podcasts. So this tells me month over month, how many months is that? So October, November, December, January, February. In 5 months, tens of thousands of podcasts have been added. Not 20, not 30, tens of thousands of podcasts have been added. This is a big deal because this tells me podcast is continuing to grow, y'all. And you know that gets me excited. You know that you're like, I just get so fired up. But also if I compare October's numbers, so what the numbers that I have here in front of me, I have monthly downloads, I have new episodes. I don't know what's happening. My kids are like being really crazy in the background. I don't normally record at this time and they're like screaming in the background. So that's what that is. That's not like the boogeyman's not trying to get me. That's just two of my boys screaming in the background. But so they have monthly downloads, new episodes, and active podcast. Those are the main numbers that are consistent every single month that are right at the top. Like as soon as you open the page, those are the ones. So let's focus on February. In the month of February, there were almost 71 million downloads across Buzzsprout. That's crazy. And you're like, Krystal, that doesn't mean anything to me because I'm not getting millions of downloads. Well, I'm just sharing the big picture stuff. We're going to get down to the granular things here in a second, but that's exciting. I think that that's really cool that there's that many millions of downloads happening every single month. And then of that, it was right, like literally, oh wait, my math is really bad. 11. I'm like trying to do math on the spot. Kind of makes me sweat a little bit. But there were almost 165,000 new episodes in the month of February. Y'all, 165,000 episodes were uploaded to Buzzsprout in the month of February. That's crazy town. Crazy town. And then if we go down, the top podcast apps that were listened to, we have Apple Podcast, then Spotify, Google Podcast, and Castbox. Those were the top 4, but really the top 2 were Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Like those are really the 2 in the running at the top. So this is important to know so you can see like kind of where your podcast, if you go into your own stats, you can see how your listenership compares to podcasting as a whole and just kind of compare what a normal range is of how many people, I don't want to say normal, right? That's not the right word to use. The average of all these podcasters, this is what they are doing. I don't like the word normal because my normal could be totally different from your normal. So scratch that. I didn't say that. You didn't hear that. Okay, that's gone. It's gone. So the top countries where people are listening to podcasts across all the Buzzsprout platform is the United States is just taking the lead here. It's 49% of all people that are listening to Buzzsprout podcast are in the US. So that's pretty significant. I mean, the rest of them, the next few ones are the UK, Canada, Australia, Mexico, and the Netherlands. But to have that many in the US, that just really goes to show you that a lot of the people that are podcasting with Buzzsprout may be US podcast and they're sharing it within their own local network or the people that they work with on a regular basis. So that's really interesting. Again, I'm just kind of sharing my insights on what these stats mean, but I want to go down to devices. So this is really interesting, y'all. And you should probably, as a podcast listener, you probably already know this, but 63% of Buzzsprout podcasts that are downloaded, like they're streamed, are coming from an Apple iPhone. 63%. Now, that's really interesting to me because it kind of correlates back to Apple Podcasts still being on top where most people are listening, but it's just pretty interesting. And then the next is the Android phone at 23%. But I have people ask me, how often are people listening on their computer, on their desktop, in my Buzzsprout player? Well, this is the place where you can go and look at your stats compared to other people and kind of ask yourself more questions. I'm just a fan of asking a ton of questions like, why is one device higher than the other? Or why is there another type of device that's being allocated as opposed to another one? So I'm actually going to come down to device types. And I promise, because you want to know, where do my numbers rank for my episodes, Krystal? Get to that. We're going to get to it in a second. Just give me, that's next. I promise. We're one last thing and then we're getting there. So device types, 88.8% of all podcast episodes across Buzzsprout are being listened to on a mobile device. Why is this important? This is important because if you are mentioning things in your show notes or you have linked to something in your show notes, it has to be mobile friendly. Y'all, this is so important. So if you're linking to your show notes, if you're linking to your freebie, you're linking to your masterclass, whatever it is that you're linking to, you have to put emphasis on mobile because people are listening on their phones. They're listening on their phones, and it's not likely that someone's going to listen to a podcast and then 2 hours later say, oh, wait, what was that link? I need to go back and type it in. No, you want to make sure that all of your links are very mobile friendly. Whatever you're pointing them to is mobile friendly. There's gone are the days of just focusing on what does it look like on my desktop or what does it look like on my tablet? You need to make sure that it looks fantastic, phenomenal on your phone. You've got to prioritize how your web pages look, your freebies, whether you're creating them on your website, ConvertKit, whatever you're doing, it's got to be mobile friendly. Okay, hopping down off my soapbox, stepping down, because now we're getting into the stuff that I know you want to know. And if you've never heard these before, I'm about to blow your mind. This is my favorite thing. This is why I'm just over the moon excited that Buzzsprout started releasing these stats, because this gives you a number, right? Everybody always wants a number. What is good, right? People come to me all the time. Krystal, I'm getting this many downloads. Is that good? And the word good is so subjective. I did a YouTube video about this. So if you want to see this whole version of everything I'm talking about, I will link to it in the episode description because we don't have show notes. These are bonus episodes. These are just special for everybody that subscribes to the show. But I will link in the episode description to a YouTube video I did that is exactly what we're talking about, the global stats feature and how you can find it and break it down and all the things. But episode downloads. Okay. For the first 7 days of your podcast, okay, right? You go into Buzzsprout, you can see your stats. If you click on 7 days, it will tell you how many total downloads you've had in 7 days. If you are getting 27 or more in the first 7 days that an episode airs, you are in the top 50% of all Buzzsprout podcasts.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants.
Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
Did that just blow your mind? Yeah, hang on. Let's let that sink in for a second. I know there was a big, long, awkward pause and you're like, did she cut out? No, I did that on purpose because I want it to sink in. If you have 27 downloads in the first 7 days of an episode being released, you are in the top 50% of all of those 90,000 plus podcasts that we talked about at the beginning. Y'all, what? Yeah, exactly. Because most people are like, I need to have a few thousand, right? In the first week no, 27, okay? And then the top 25%, if you are getting 74 downloads in the first 7 days that an episode airs, you're in the top 25% of these close to 95,000 podcasts. If you are or if you get more than 244 downloads in the first 7 days, you're in the top 10%. The top 5% is you get 584 downloads. And the top 1%, right? The ones that everybody's like, oh, everybody must be getting 10,000 downloads every week. No, y'all. No. That's not happening. It's not happening for me. If someone's telling you that's happening, then they're an anomaly. But the top 1% of podcasts are getting about 3,188 episodes in the first 7 days. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not in the top 1%, okay? I'm not in the top 1%. I'm probably between the top 25%, top 10% for sure. I don't know, maybe between the top 10 and the top 5. It fluctuates, right? It's not the same all the time, but I can tell you right now that these stats made me breathe easier when I first saw them. And it made me breathe easier for you when I first saw them, because 27 downloads in the first 7 days, I know most of you are getting that. I know most of you will get that. And if you aren't there, this isn't a shaming of you and your downloads. This is like, oh my gosh, I bet I know 27 people that I could get to watch my show, listen to my show, and then I would be in the top 50% of all Buzzsprout podcasts. That's a really cool marketing tool too. To be able to say, hey, compared to all the podcasts that are out there across Buzzsprout, my podcast is in the top 50%. Booyah, mic drop. Okay, so we're going to move on. So that's episode downloads. Episode duration. I get asked this question all the time too. This one is more of not really what's right or what's wrong, but more of what is being measured. So people ask me, how long should my episodes be? And this is just a quantifiable metric of what is being uploaded into Buzzsprout. Like, here are the averages. So less than 10%, there's about 13, or less than 10%, sorry. Less than 10 minutes, if an episode less than 10 minutes, it's about 13%. 10 to 20 minutes is about 14%. 20 to 40 minutes is 31% of all the episodes that are being uploaded. So I feel like 20 to 40 minutes is the sweet spot where most podcasters are uploading their episodes. Then the next one is 40 to 60 minutes at 23%, and then anything over 60 minutes is at 18%. So the two highest percentages are podcast episodes basically between 20 minutes and 60 minutes. This is the sweet spot where most podcasters fall. So my opinion is, I want you, if you haven't gotten started with your podcast, you want to get started, you're like, I don't know how long to make it, shoot for 10 to 20 minutes. That would be my suggestion. And then as you inch up, go incrementally, add on 5 minutes to an episode. Don't try to go from 10 minutes and I'm going to go to 60 minutes. That's a little wacky. Don't do that. Start at 10 minutes because a lot of other people do too. Okay. Remember, have a daily podcast, 5 minutes or less. You don't have to go out strong. I have so many people, it has to be an hour. How do I talk about myself for an hour? Why can't it be 5 minutes? It does not have to be an hour. So take this into consideration. And then the last stat that we have measured here is episodes published every how many days? I want you to just guess. I know I can't hear you, but I want you to say, how often do you think people are putting out podcast episodes? Did you say a number? Every so many days? Okay, here's the facts. Okay, this is what I love about numbers. It's just, yes, this is true. There's no there's nothing, and it's just data. I know, I'm just totally geeking out on you, which is why I wanted to do these bonus episodes to have so much fun. But okay, so every 0 to 2 days, which is basically means a daily podcast, y'all, that's only 7%. Okay? You don't have to have a daily podcast. And if someone's telling you that, I just don't think that you have to have a daily podcast. If you want to start that way, fantastic, but have a plan in place to not burn out. That's my only thing with podcasting every single day. I'm afraid you're going to burn out. So that's not what the majority of podcasters with Buzzsprout do. Most of them publish between 3 and 7 days. So that's either twice a week or once a week, right? That's 36% of podcasters. And then from 8 to 14 days is actually the highest. It's 39% of podcasters publish every 8 to 14 days. So that's twice a month. Y'all, I get asked, is it okay to do twice a month? Other podcasters are doing it. I want to see you doing it at least once a week, even if that means you have to shorten your episodes to 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's great. But you can see here that there's a lot of other shows that are only publishing twice a month too. So it's doable. Remember, every single day, that was 7% of podcast. So don't think that you have to podcast every single day. Twice a month is totally, it's happening. I'm going to push you. I'm going to nudge you in the direction of once a week. I think you can do it, but numbers don't lie. That's what's happening. So every 15 to 29 days is 16%, and over 30 days is 1%. So that's basically anybody that's putting stuff out once a month or once every 2 months. And I just don't think that there's a lot of consistency that can be had. There's not a lot of branding that you can do in that amount of time. So overall, the most important information that I want you to walk away from today's episode with is now you have a resource. So if you're asking, if you just listen to all this, maybe you're walking the dog, you're on the treadmill, and you're like, Krystal just threw a bunch of numbers at me. I don't know what they mean. Go check out this feature in Buzzsprout. Have your stats open in one window, have theirs open in another, and then that way you can kind of see, well, how do my numbers compare to all the other 95,000 podcasts that are across Buzzsprout? Because this is the best resource that I can give you. I can't tell you what's good for your industry, what's good for this, what's good for that, but I can tell you, hey, here's a good measure of how you're doing, right? This is the best survey tool that I have to offer you on how long people are uploading podcasts, how often they're uploading them, and how many are getting, like how many downloads are people getting? This is what I want to point you to. This resource is there for you to see. And I just get excited about telling you that if you are getting 27 downloads or more in the first 7 days of a podcast episode, you are in the top 50%. I know, it's so much fun. That's why I get excited telling you this, because now you're like, oh, I'm in the top 50%. Like that's just fun. I don't know why, but that's really fun. I just did a little shimmy, a little dance for you. I'm excited. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's all I have for y'all today. I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode. Like I said, I don't tend to announce these and like post about them on social media, but I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, screenshot it, tag me on social and say, Krystal just dropped a super secret special episode that she doesn't really talk about in other places. And you need to go listen to it if you're confused about stats or you want to know how they work, what you need to know. And I am going to try, right? I'm like going to hold my feet to the fire. I want you to hold me to the fire and say, Krystal, where's the March stats when April rolls around? Because I want to do these on a regular basis. But that is all I have for you today. So if this is the first time you've listened to any episodes, welcome. This is the Profit Podcast. We're a little crazy and erratic around here. And for whatever reason, people keep coming back every single week to listen to my nonsense and my shenanigans. But really, I think it's because you can't find this type of energy around podcasting anywhere else. So stay tuned for the next update that will be coming in April. And remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Krystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Krystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.